All right, great. We're live. Hi, everybody. Welcome to this live stream. And I'm so excited today to be here. We're going to talk about a mental health talk. Haven't done one in a while, probably since my last one, which was like about discipline. This is kind of like a little bit different because I value mental health a lot. And especially in this day and age, we're going through a lot. And it's really great to talk open up about certain things that maybe you don't like feel comfortable talking about to with your friends or family members. So I'm here to talk with you. One of our hello cool gamer, how you doing? So I'm here to answer a couple questions that I get video requests a lot. I like in every video now. I at the end of it, I ask you all to like leave video requests of things that you want to see me talk about. And if you're just coming in, drop a hello or good evening or good morning or whatever time it is for you in the chat. Let's get some conversation going. Also, throughout this whole chat, if you feel another question that I haven't answered yet, if you feel a need to drop that in chat as well about like mental health, anything mental health related, like maybe like spirituality related or anything, drop that as well. So I'm gonna just go ahead and get right into it. One of the first questions that I remember getting asked is like, what do you think about having too many online friendships? And I've never really thought about it too in depth, but I guess it depends all on the atmosphere of it. If you are online a lot, that probably means that possibly, honestly, that you have an increased amount of anxiety. Just because of the way that social media is structured these days, you can't really get away from it. It's really difficult, and I've like found this to be true even for myself. Just feeling obligated to get on social media just because I that's how I make money. So, uh, I realized that the way that social media is structured, let's just take TikTok for example. Like TikTok's like one of the most prevalent ones. Hey, Jazzy's Fair Life, how you doing? Just in the endeavors of like getting on TikTok, posting on Instagram and stuff like that. I found like TikTok is like one of the most prevalent social medias of this generation, whatever generation, XYZ, Gen Z. And it's found a way to like take long form videos that we would usually see in like 20 minutes. You can condense a 20-minute video into like saying all that in 2 minutes. And because of that, we're kind of like trained these days and age to have our mind respond quicker to stimulus. Therefore, it's all this scientific stuff, releasing more dopamine. So our dopamine levels are rising because of social media, and because of that, because dopamine actually feels good because it's like rewarding for your brain. It actually wants us to stay on social media more, and it you can spend like 5 minutes, or you can want to spend like 5 minutes on social media, and then it end up being 20 minutes literally. And so because of that, I feel like if you feel like you have too many online friends, it's probably because you're online a lot, and it also doesn't allow a lot of room anymore to develop basic socialization skills. Hi Sheila, good evening. How you doing? Yeah, like being on social media a lot doesn't give us a lot of room to develop the necessary social skills. So if you're meeting a lot of people online, maybe possibly or let me rephrase that. If you're meeting a lot of people online and find that you don't meet people easily or get along with people easily, connect easily face to face, maybe possibly you have a difficult time making eye contact with other people, and then maybe possibly get anxious when you're around other people, that may be a sign that it's unhealthy for you to have a lot of online friendships. And if you compare the amount of online friendships that you have to in person friendships, and you see that you have a lot more, or it's more comfortable for you to communicate with people off of social media rather than face to face, I would challenge that and say, why is that? And is it healthy for your growth right now? And try to communicate more with people face to face, because unfortunately, I feel the younger generations, and I am part of one of the younger generations, but sometimes I feel old. the younger generations are getting less and less socially competent, which is very unfortunate because it's sort of like we're turning into robots. I feel like, all those movies about the zombie apocalypses, and like AI and, robots taking over the world. It's not just like robots that are built by humans, it's like actual humans themselves. Like we're turning into robotic peoples. And then I think the zombie apocalypse is a metaphor for like how the way things work are turning our brains into zombies, literally. So, do you ever have online friends? Mm, I wouldn't say that there's anybody that I communicate with solely online that I don't communicate with in person. There is no friend that I would call a friend that like is close to me that I only communicate with online. Um, so no, I don't think that I have any online friends. I have met friends online and then we started hanging out in person, but it always made that translation from I met them online and then they became in person because honestly, a lot of friendships can start out on like a social media app or like a dating app, or a lot of good relationships can come start out from a dating app. I'm gonna tell you a secret. I met my person on a dating app. Don't tell nobody. But but it wasn't like, we like stayed, just partners that dated on a dating app. No. We like met in person and then kicked it off from there. So I feel like if it doesn't translate, or maybe if you don't feel a need for it to translate in between online and then in person, why is that? And like, can we get to the root of that? Because it may be unhealthy, possibly. Okay, one of the second questions that I got asked from you all is how do you make being an empath work for you? There's two questions in one. How do you make being an empath work for you? And then also, what are some coping mechanisms for empaths? And how do you stop or regulate your tendency to mirror other actions, like become a mirror of other people because of your empathy? Number one, how do you make being an empath work for you? I don't know. So personally, I am an empath, but I'm also an introvert. I'm a social introvert. It just depends on what day of the week it is. So I think my answer will be different than a lot of other people's answers who are also empaths. But I have to spend some time alone and I have to really value my alone time as an empath. Um, I didn't really even know what an empath was until I became an adult, really. But I know that even though I love my friends and family, I always need a break. I was never really the type of person to like stay on the phone for a long period of time. I still don't. And then also, I was never really the person, like, even with family, that always hung out for the whole night. Maybe I would take uh, a couple minutes, go into my room, and kind of like collect my thoughts. So I think valuing your alone time is crucial because you're probably okay with being in your own space because it gives you relief from other people's emotions that you can sometimes carry on. How to make being an empath work for you? I don't know, that's really my number one. I can't really think of any other ones. That would be the top one. The second question within that question is what coping mechanisms are there for empaths? Well, I think it would be the same, like finding your alone time. And honestly, also you have to be emotionally intelligent. So, emotional intelligence really means discerning your emotions from logic because with empath, I think sometimes the two are conjoined when they need to be separate. For example, when somebody offends you at work, and they say that you're moving too slow for them, they offend you at work because they say you're moving too slow, you're never going to make it at this job, and uh that um or even no, better example, if somebody at work says something tragic happened within their family and it affects you because you've been through something tragic within your own life, or maybe you haven't, but you just recall a time where you felt their exact emotions that they're feeling. And even though they don't mean to really dump their emotions onto you, it just so happens that because you're even around them, you can feel their emotions sometimes without them even telling you what the matter is. So it's discerning, like, okay, when do I take a logical approach to this? And when do I hold this at arm's length? And then we gotta separate our emotions from our logic, really. Hey, Will Banks, how you doing? Don't force it. I think it can be a good answer for the first part of that question. Yeah, don't force. Yeah, don't force it. Yeah, force is not what you want to do. Um, and I think I talked about forcing. So think of meditation too. This is a good one. Meditation, I like to describe it as not pressing thoughts to the back of the mind, because a lot of times, because you are a person that takes on emotions, those thoughts created by emotions can circulate in the mind over and over and over again. And sometimes we can get anxious about them. But those thoughts didn't even come from our mind. Because you are an empath, they come from outside things, maybe something that somebody said to you earlier, or a TV show that you watched. I know people that when they watch those TV shows with the animals on there, from the "In the Arms of the Angel," that commercial, and then they start crying, and I feel for that. But when those emotions do come and the thoughts from those emotions, it's not like you try to suppress them. Thoughts that we don't want, instead of suppressing them, we got to come to a logical frame of mind. So that's using direction instead of suppression. Don't think about, okay, don't tell yourself, don't think about blank. Instead of telling yourself, don't think about blank, redirect your mind back to a focal point. So um, meditation is so important. I do it every day. And so if you don't have that in your regular regimen, then incorporate it. And it could be something so simple as far as bringing your awareness back to your breath, inhaling in through the nose, exhaling through the nose. But I think it's important to have something to focus on to replace negative thoughts with positive thoughts. There's something called negativity bias, and it's a ratio of like 10 negative thoughts to 3 positive thoughts, meaning for every, I think it's the other way around. For every 10 positive thoughts, I'm sorry, okay, let me start over. For every 3 negative thoughts that we think, we have to think 10 positive thoughts to counteract the negativity. Because negativity bias is when we tend to fixate on negative things because it's easier for the mind to see negative information as more impactful than positive information. So if you're a person that takes on a lot of negative information because you happen to be an empath, then understanding the negativity bias may be suitable for you to realize how impactful it is to feed yourself with positive information to counteract the negative information. On top of that, directing your mind, having a focal point that throughout the day, directing your mind back to, whether it's just bring your mind to the breath and then center yourself back. If you want some guidance with that, join my Holistic Fit Meditation membership and collective. The link to that is always in the description box of every video. So if you want to practice meditation with me and or yoga as well, I have both options. You can only do meditation, or you can only do meditation and yoga. We practice together every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday in the morning. I also pre-record all of the practices so that you can go back and look at them. But I'm definitely here to help you with that. If you want to start a regular mindful meditation practice, which is just bringing your awareness to the breath, also some breath work, speeding up your breath, slowing down your breath. And then we also do a present moment awareness meditation, which is just body scan. Notice the different points of your body. So it helps with your concentration and your awareness and calmness. So that's a great coping mechanism. Have that where you can discern emotion from logic. Realize that we are not our thoughts. So this isn't just about negative emotions that we think, also positive emotions. I mean, who doesn't want to feel positive emotions? But empaths take on both sides. We tend to fixate on the negative more than the positive. So remembering that negativity bias. The third question within this question was how to prevent mirroring others' actions. Well, okay, so it originates with your thought. Here's what an action is. It is a manifestation of a thought that turns into spoken words, and then that turns into actions. So, how every action comes to be is you first originate it as a thought in your mind, and then once you start speaking it out loud or reproducing that thought over and over in your mind, then it becomes manifested physically into an action. The point is, it always starts with a thought. So it always goes back with your thoughts. And if we notice where our thoughts are coming from, they're coming from outside things, therefore, they're not coming from us. As an empath, you should realize that you are not the things that you think. We often associate who we are as a person by what we think. Meaning, if we think negative things, then we are a negative person, but that's not it because we are not our thoughts. We're simply the experiencer of thought. For example, if you fail a test over and over and over again, you are not a failure. You simply are experiencing a failing grade, but you're not what we experience. We are beings and not doing. So, how can we be something that we're simply experiencing? And noticing that just changed it all for me. We can, again, take our emotions out of things and see things from a more logical perspective. It's sort of like shifting your awareness from the participant to the observer. Imagine this, all the cars on the street. There are cars going forward. There are cars coming back from where the cars going forward are coming. So it's a two-way street, right? And then there are cars on either side of you, but you only have one car. Sometimes we think that we are in our car and we're also in every other car that we're seeing just because we're seeing it drive by. You know what I'm saying? Just because we're seeing other cars drive by doesn't mean we are also in that car. We're just experiencing seeing those cars, but we're only in our one car. So we shouldn't worry about where all the other cars are going because we don't have any control over that. What we can control is where our vehicle is going. If you get the symbolization, that vehicle is our mind. You can control where your mind is going, so we just need to direct it. Again, if you're just coming in live, if you have any questions about mental health or even mindfulness or spiritual health or anything like that, don't be shy to ask any questions. Another question that I got recently asked on a video was, how do you heal from spite and betrayal? Ooh, I don't know if everybody's gonna like what I'm about to say, but a long time ago, maybe about 2 or so years ago, developed this mindset about why we trust people. Mostly we trust people for a selfish need for that person that we're trusting to have actions that benefit us. Because we hang out with them, we're probably a close person with them if we trust them, right? People who you trust are friends and family, they're the closest people to you. So we will expect people, friends, and family around us to act in a certain way, to behave in a certain way. And when you say you trust somebody, you're usually saying you trust them to do something. It's usually not, I just trust you in general with whatever. I mean, sometimes we'll say that, but what we mean is when I view you, I'm viewing you as a person that does these things and doesn't step out of these boundaries. So essentially, we put that person's actions in a box, right? Just hear me out here. So when that person's actions step outside of the box that we created around them because we put trust in that person to stay within certain guidelines, when they step outside of that guidelines, i.e., step outside of our trust, we feel betrayed. We feel maybe spiteful. We feel hurt, which we have the right to feel. However, I noticed that if we don't put that much trust in a person in the first place, we won't have to heal from that much spite, from that much betrayal, because we're not putting a person in a box. We're simply just seeing them for whoever they might come out to be. And judgment, what else? I just kind of lost my train of thought. Judgment. Oh, that Kamal, that's a great question. I'm gonna answer that right after I finish my thought as well. Uh, I was gonna say something about judgment, but I completely lost it. And maybe I forgot it because I don't need to say it at all. Maybe that's what it is. But if you're wondering how to heal from spite and betrayal, first, maybe understanding where spite and betrayal comes from. Um, and then realize that we can practice this thing called non-attachment, which was really helpful for me growing and healing as well. A lot of us are attached to who we are currently, or who we are currently, and that helps or hinders us, sorry, from moving forward out of our current situations. So if who you are currently is attached to past hurt, past betrayal, past spite, we can practice this art of non-attachment to the outcome of who we are. Again, we associate ourselves, which is like made up of our ego, really. Our ego is just who we associate our physical self to be, with our hobbies, with our job, with the people who we hang around. And sometimes we're holding on to those things in order to keep some type of recognition of ourselves. Because without those things, we don't recognize ourselves. So spite and betrayal, believe it or not, those are things of the past, even though they may feel like things of the present. The reason why they don't feel good is because we're holding on to something that should be let go. Because you always probably hear, let go of spite, let go of betrayal. And the reason why it is instructed for you to let go is because we've already been in a position to move past it. We're just connecting ourselves to the identity that we are, or who the other person is that we put so much trust in, or whoever is involved in the feelings and creating those feelings of betrayal. We're so attached to that it's already in the past. And the way that we heal from it is to realize that who we are currently is in the present moment, and nothing will change that. No amount of holding a grudge will ever change that. Another thing about holding a grudge is that it's never harming the other person ever. It's only harming the person who's holding the grudge. So if you have spite, if you feel like you've been betrayed, you're probably holding a grudge against the person who is involved in the betrayal, and you're probably holding that grudge because you felt like they outstepped the guidelines from which you put them in, which I already talked about is the reason why we probably shouldn't put that much trust in somebody. And I do read the Bible for those who maybe think that I don't. Um, I love the scripture that says, do not put any trust in a man, put no confidence in a friend. But the art of letting go of that betrayal is uh, trusting something that's bigger than yourself, because humans don't know right from wrong sometimes. So just ask yourself, as much trust that you put in another human being, like a friend or a family member, do we sometimes put them on a pedestal to say that their actions are so should never outstep our trust, when we outstep people's trust all the time? And just thinking about all the stuff that we've done, and that it's never too far to be forgiven. That was a lot. Okay, and now Kamal, I'm gonna answer your question. But Kamal said, for you personally, is there a difference between praying to God and manifestation? Is there a difference between praying to God and manifestation? Ooh, I love this question. Mm. Is there a difference? First, oh, for me personally, no, they're one and the same. I mean, praying is the act of inquiring. I'm sorry. Yes, there is a difference because there's different things you can pray for. Praying isn't always asking God of something, right? It can be giving thanks. It can be just telling him how you feel. It could be just saying, "Yeah, thanks for the sun. Yeah, thanks for protecting." And that's not really, manifestation. Manifestation is the faith or the strong belief with emotion that the works that you're doing right now will come out of a mental space or out of a spiritual space into the physical. I think faith and manifestation are one and the same. So, manifestation can be a combination of prayer and faith at the same time. That's exactly what it is. Because there's there's a little flying thing around. Um, yeah, there's a if you read the whole gospel, like the gospel is Matthew through John, right? And Jesus was healing a lot of people, right? When he was going around, and all the famous stories that people have read about Jesus healing people. He made a girl get up from the dead, and he said, "Girl, walk," and then she walked, and then cast demons out of a man. They went into a pig. All those stories, right? After Jesus did a lot of those amazing healings, spit in a blind man's eyes. Um, he went back to like his hometown or whatever, and he saw that the people there had very little faith than all the other towns that he went to heal people. And he did like some amazing type of healing things, you know what I'm saying? But when he went back to his own town, this was after he did all those other things, he looked around and said, like, these people ain't got that much faith. And because of that, I can't really do much healing here other than probably like cast demons out of a couple people, and so and if I have any part of the story wrong, I'm kind of like paraphrasing here because again, I've read this a couple times, so it's kind of like in my mind. But when I think of that, when people have told me that, like, oh, manifestation's evil and the what do you think faith is? Faith without works is dead. But at the same time, if you're working but you don't believe that the works that you're doing will give you the results that you want, how is spirit able to move through your mindset? It can't, because your mindset doesn't match what you're doing, your actions. And so if in the Bible, just biblically, Jesus wasn't able to do as much healing, and he actually needed humans to believe in order for him to carry out the same amount of miracles. Then what does that say about what our mindset plays into when we're trying to work spiritually through things, because we have that same power within us? So yeah. Another, oh, well, that's all the questions. If there are any, I know that I just said a mouthful, but if there are any other questions, I think this actually may be like a little shorter than what I usually do, but that's totally fine. Thank you for all of your questions. Oh, sure what my camera's doing. Very intriguing. Thanks for that. You're welcome. No problem. Yeah, I enjoy doing live streams. I'm trying to do a lot more live streams as well. And I know you all like the longer videos, so I like to try to do my live streams like at least once a month and be consistent with doing them once a month. So yeah, if there are any other questions, be sure, excuse me, to put them down in the chat. And if you're just coming in, make sure to say, hey, good evening. How's everybody doing today? How's everybody's day been? I personally just came from teaching a yoga class near me. I was in traffic for maybe about like 30 minutes. Anything on dark empaths? Hey Q Cab, how you doing? I don't really know what that means. Let me look that up. Dark empath. What is a dark empath? Google says a dark empath is a term that describes someone who exploits their ability to understand how other people think and feel. Someone who exploits their ability to understand how other people think and feel. They can recognize another person's perspective while also showing signs of psychopathy, narcissism, and Machiavellianism. Hey Malia, how you doing? Let me look up the word exploits because I forgot what that means. Exploits. Make use of and derive benefit from. Okay, let's go back to the definition. Oh, okay. I can't. Okay, so I'm trying to like think of an example of this. Hey, what's up? My day has been pretty chill. Good to hear. Okay, so I think this is a coping mechanism. Like if you're consciously neglecting how other people feel, maybe possibly you get overwhelmed and drained by absorbing the emotions of other people. I personally I personally don't feel like I can relate to this, just because something, everybody registers trauma different. So I feel like there certainly, maybe possibly was a traumatic experience that caused a person to want to be consciously aware of understanding another person's emotions, but because they're trying to guard something that probably doesn't need it to be guarded as heavily, they protect themselves by uh, neglect of other people's feelings, or even probably putting down other people's feelings. Or I always thought narcissism was really a what is it called? Uh, it is a very bruised, I would say, ego. So trying to kind of like reclaim what you feel like you've lost. So it's kind of like the same thing when somebody feels like they've been taken advantage of, and they feel like something's been taken from them, such as like their pride has been really bruised, maybe their ego has been really bruised. And again, it's like from a traumatic experience that they now feel like they have to reclaim the power for themselves by doing that as a coping mechanism, by putting down other people's feelings or recognizing it, but using everything around them to benefit them and making and gaslighting and stuff like that. So, yeah, that's what I feel about that. Even though I can't really relate to it, I could probably identify that in other people. Yeah, that's interesting. That was a good question. Thanks for your question. Thanks for everybody's questions. Can't really think of any other questions that I've been asked recently. I'm trying to look. Let me see if there's any recent ones. Yeah, there aren't really like any other recent questions that I've seen. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Okay, yeah, somebody says, explain how to calm yourself down after an argument or a fight. Oh, I personally think that arguments are very unnecessary. I feel I don't argue. I don't argue. I feel like when you're somebody who doesn't put back into the same energy that other people are trying to give you, other people would really try to rally you up. They really sorry, I just like spit. But like other people really try to like rile you up. And it's also a combination of being humble and not letting your ego get in the way of wanting to prove others right. And that also keeps you from being embarrassed because a lot of people they just embarrass themselves. But think about like things will happen that will probably throw us off guard, but we don't have to get embarrassed about it because embarrassment is honestly very self-inflicted. Like, um, first of all, the reason I think arguments pointless is because, and I made a YouTube short about this. People want to be validated in a lot of conversations that they have, and most people are having conversations in order to for their point to be heard and not to hear out the other side. However, if you're having a conversation with someone who evidently is not in a position to open their mind to your perspective when you are willingly going to open your mind to their perspective, then maybe the conversation isn't worth having. And maybe that person isn't worth spending a lot of time uh, with. And I also talked about once there are light takers and light dimmers. Some people are naturally light dimmers. Like when they suck, I mean, when they come into a room, they suck the life out of everything. And you might have some people that you hang out with 2 hours a day. You need to make it 2 weeks. And maybe that's one of those people. Now, when you do get in an argument and none of those things are the case, I would always say avoid saying anything under the stress or the pressure. However, you kind of have to find a balance in between that and not giving people the silent treatment. It's an emotional mature thing. It really is because I thought that everybody was kind of like that at one point, to the point where when you argue with somebody, they're so angry that they don't want to be around you. But there are some people that because of their unconditional love, it don't matter if we just had an argument. It's kind of like we just had an argument, but what you want to go eat? Like you want to go out to eat or something like that? It's like a meme or something like that. I think it's like about couples too. But it's realizing that if that person is somebody that you want to keep communicating with, You got to find a way to put your pride aside. Honestly, that's what it is. Putting your pride aside. If neither sides got dealt with, if you feel like the problem was not resolved by your argument, still avoid saying things in the heat of anger or very strong emotion because you probably will regret it. However, a lot of it might be the truth. So you got to just kind of find balance with that. And then also realize that other people are not our enemies. Like we try to fight other people physically, but our battle on this earth is not against flesh and blood. It's about all the things that we can't see. And if you feel like you're fighting other people, if you feel like other people are your enemies, it's not that person, it's a spirit within the person that they need to deal with themselves. And we argue, we just like fight a lot of things physically. We try to fight a lot of things with our with arguing back or giving the same energy back, but we're just going to end up draining ourselves, right? Because a lot of us are fighting a battle that ain't even our battle to fight. And then, non-related question, JD says, are you a singer? Yeah. So for those who don't know, well, first of all, I always sang in the choir at my church growing up, and I sang a lot of solos. Like they will call me to sing so many different solos in the church choir. So yeah, in the choir I grew up singing. But then also I was kind of like good enough to get a scholarship going to college and singing in the choir at Winston-Salem State University. I sang in the university choir on a scholarship professionally. So yes. I don't really sing much anymore because I work hard on other things. And singing is sort of something that I, go back to doing in the shower and not really publicly anymore because there's nowhere to really sing unless I would go to somewhere where it's like a karaoke night or something. But yes, that is me on my intro. Some people have so everybody has different types of intelligence. Some people have math intelligence, science intelligence, musical intelligence. I happen to have musical intelligence. I don't have perfect pitch though. However, I can match pitch and also I sang soprano too in the choir, so sing kind of high. But yeah, that is me in my intro. Pretty dope. How were you able to spontaneously expand and teach on that? I forgot what I said. Teach on what? Oh, that's a cool name. Nice to meet you, Buddha. Buddha. Thank you. Yeah. And then another comment that I got on the post that I posted asking you all what other questions you would like to see me answer is somebody commented, Real Royal commented introspection. I'm not really sure what you mean by that, but introspection is kind of like just like going within. Let me look up that word, introspection. Google says introspection is the examination or observation of one's own mental and emotional process. Meditation, which is just becoming aware, more self-aware. A lot of us are afraid of our thoughts, but you're already sitting with your thoughts. If you feel stressed out and you're trying to suppress what you're stressed out about, you've already discovered what you're stressed about. You've just pushed it into the back of your mind. So, excuse me. So it's like that with any thought. Introspection is just noticing what is within in order for it to be released, but not even just released, just noticed and allowed to be there. I don't think that meditation even really releases much thought. It may release like stress and tension out of the body, but really it's just to allow us to be. When things come up, we think that we're not as strong as we are, but yeah, it's really just also about like just taking our emotions out of things, withdrawal of the five senses as well. A lot of us see things more so physically than anything else. So anytime we identify something with the five senses, sight, taste, touch, hearing, smell, we make that thing from a mental experience to a physical experience. And sometimes we can withdraw those experiences, take it from the physical space back to the mental space. So we can notice that really, or mental and spiritual, so we can notice that really we're not just a physical being. We're caught up in our physicality a lot of the times when really we could be more so give attention to the mind, be more kindness to the mind, and then also make it a spiritual experience, because when that happens, you realize that we're just kind of like spirits living within this body, but really we perceive that we're living inside this body, but the body is living inside of our spirit, right? Because if you're standing next to somebody and you are an empath, that means you're actually really spiritually inclined to, maybe you have a lot more emotional intelligence than you're aware of. So you actually can feel a person's, spirit, because emotions are spiritual. And so, you ever heard somebody saying like your aura is so bright, and with your type of intelligence, you can probably feel a person's emotional or their spirit like across the room or right next to them. And that's proof that like our spirit is not living inside of our body, because if it was, then it would be confined to our physicality, but it's not, because somebody else can feel it from the other side of the room. Therefore, we're not confined. Our spirit is not inside of our body. Our body is really inside of our spirit. I should take everything that I said today and just like put it on TikTok. And I'll have so many TikToks, because I feel like a lot of people a lot of people were asking, "Do you have a TikTok? You should make a TikTok." And I finally did create one. So, it's the same as my Instagram. Thanks, Buddha. Here's my TikTok and my Instagram. It's just my first name and my last name. My first name dot last name. Yep, so go follow me on there. With that, I think I'll go ahead and end out the live stream. This was awesome. Thanks everybody who asked a question. Let me just check one more time to make sure I didn't miss anything. Let's look at the post. I'm trying to have like, more than one live stream a month. And those are all the posts. So, well, I'll have a video out for y'all on Friday, and have a great rest of your evening, morning, or afternoon, whatever time it is for you anywhere in the world. And yeah, have a great rest of your day. Bye, y'all.